Go! Okay. All right, let's see how this rolls. Hey everybody, so I'm gonna be doing a quick update on my training. What have I been doing? What am I working towards? So I just recently wrapped up kind of a off-season style of training, still staying pretty specific to my lifts, all things considered, and walked away with some pretty big milestone PRs that I wanted to share with you guys. So the big one is an 800-pound deadlift. I was not expecting to deadlift that. I had not pulled anywhere close to 800 pounds, not really anyways, so doing that was great, and I'll dive into that some more. But I matched my squat PR, which was awesome because previously in a different training cycle I actually missed 705, which was pretty discouraging. So kind of laying down the foundation of squatting again has been pretty good, and there's definitely more to do with my squat, and that's what we're kind of doing in the new training cycle. But anyways, moving on from that, I also hit some pretty significant upper body PRs. I hit a 405 Larson press, which was amazing. So that matches my best all-time bench press, where my competition style bench press. So to do that without my legs in a harder variation, okay, cool, I'll take it. I also walked away with a 3 1/4 plate dip. Which was also pretty freaking sick. Also took 3 plates for a triple, which was nice as well. So my dips are building up, those are blowing up. My Larson press was really successful. So now that I'm reintroducing competition style bench pressing, I'm very curious to see, you know, what I have in store for me. Seeing if we can transmute all of that PRs on variations, PRs on accessories, and seeing how, you know, that funnels into my bench press. I'm feeling pretty confident in the PRs that I hit and how they will transfer over. I think that'll be fun. I think every time that I pack on a little bit more muscle mass through exercises like dips or just PR on variations like Larson press that are still, you know, fairly specific, my competition bench ends up blowing up. So I'm very excited about that. So let's dive into squat. Let's take it in squat, bench, and deadlift order. With squat, you know, I am really happy that I was able to match my best squat PR, like be able to replicate that again. But I need to grow my squat. So what we were doing with this training cycle was just barbell squatting once a week, and then on a separate day doing like some belt squats or hack squats. And I think that cadence of once a week barbell squatting and, you know, some kind of joint friendlier squat machine variation or what have you definitely is good for me when it comes to just kind of laying a foundation of like, hey, let's just kind of hold your strength or just build a base. And I think that's exactly what we did, and that's why I was able to replicate that 705. But in order to push my squat into new territory, I just need to train harder, and I think I need to be more specific with my squat, while not, you know, allowing that increased frequency to barbell squatting to fuck up my joints or anything like that, because I'm very susceptible to, like, I can sponge volume. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like my muscles never feel too fucked up to sponge volume. It's just always my joints and like nagging aches and pains and stuff like that. So navigating that is very important to me, and making sure that I'm not overdoing it on barbell work that beats me up is really important. So the cool thing about high bar squatting is that I can be exposed to more specificity. I can do high bar multiple times a week, at most twice. That's always seemed to be really good for me. I still show up on my primary squat day feeling pretty fresh and still feeling pretty strong. Doesn't ever really feel like my fatigue carries over or bleeds over into that main day, or doesn't really ever feel like that fatigue kind of outshines my fitness or masks my fitness is probably a better way to put it. So that's what we're doing now. I'm barbell squatting twice. I'm doing one day just volume, like a couple sets of probably 4 to 8 reps. Obviously the reps will undulate down probably as I get deeper into the training cycle. And then that primary day, something interesting about that primary day that I'm doing now is I'm actually doing ascending sets and up to a top set. And then for my volume, I'm just doing a set of belt squat, and I'm just pushing it to a relatively high exertion. That is a strategy that my coach and I, Paris Butler, Bald Omni Man, that we tried on deadlifts, where I was deadlifting twice a week. One day was straight leg deadlifts, and then the other day was just ascending sets to a top set on my sumo deadlifts. I'll kind of get to that a little bit later. I want to, make sure I'm staying on topic here with squats. It's kind of hard to do, and your brain like wants to say 3 things at once. But back to squats. That's what we're doing now. We're doing one day just sub-maximal volume. That's still pretty tough RPE wise. That day is probably going to bounce around between an RPE 6 to 8. And then that primary day, we're just building up to a top set with the ascending set style, which basically just means that you are building up with the prescribed reps. So at least the way that I do it, let's take today, for example. So today I built up to a top set of 5, or ascending sets of, I had ascending sets of 5 up to an RPE 7. So I did 155 for 5. I then took 375 for 5. I took 485 for 5. And then I finished up with 525 for 5. I decided to go a little bit lighter than I would have liked. I probably could have done about 550 or 560, but I'm still kind of feeling the residual aches and pains of the previous training cycle. So I'm kind of allowing myself to recuperate here a little bit. But that's the example that I'm giving you, right? That's literally what I did today. I took those jumps, I did 5 reps for all those sets, and that last set felt about an RPE 6 or 7, which is what I was trying to go for anyways. So I quite like doing that, the ascending sets, because once you build up to that top set, that's it. I feel like the mental load of not having to do back downs is great. But then backfilling the volume on a secondary day, to balance that out, right? Because you still need volume. Like, I still need to do my volume. I'm not trying to avoid it, but separating it out such that I can recover better, or not feel so mentally like brain dead after my squats going into my deadlifts has been feeling pretty good. And that isn't to say that there's something wrong with being a little bit fatigued after, your squats and then going to whatever other lift you may or may not have. Because in a meet prep or on meet day, you got 3 lifts back to back. There's maybe some time for you to recuperate in between. But still, we're just kind of figuring it out. We're kind of playing with it. I'm excited. I'm very interested to see what's going to happen with my squat. Not that I have not taken 600 pounds for reps before, but for me, with where I'm at and with where I think my squat needs to go, I need to be in the 600 pound to 650 pound range, weight range, more often, and doing it for reps. I think that's where I'm kind of lacking in my strength work right now, because some of my heavier doubles and triples didn't really go that much beyond 600 pounds as I was preparing for the 705 squat. So, I think just bro science, like if I can get into that weight range, do it for, the 2 to 4 reps, 2 to 5 reps, then that's only going to mean good things for my squat. And if I can tolerate that, if I can manage the fatigue, If we can come up with strategies to make sure that I don't get overly fatigued throughout the week, then great. You know, that's a good sign. That's a very good sign for my squat. As far as short-term goals or strength goals, I don't know if they're going to be short or long-term, but goals for my squat, I really want to push it into the mid-7s. I think that'd be awesome. I think that would kind of help round out my total and not have my deadlift be the lift that does take up the majority of my total. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but just as a power lifter, I want to round that total out. You know, I want to be good at all 3 lifts. So that's where squat is now, and that's where we're headed with squats. Now, going into the bench press, I've never been that great of a bench presser. It took me a lot of years to figure out how to bench, and I only now kind of feel like I've figured it out, and I'm sure there's even more to figure out. Yeah, anyways, I'm sure there's even more to figure out, but I'm feeling pretty awesome about where everything is at. I think it says a lot that my dip strength has improved so much. I think I've done 2 plates before for a few reps, but I don't remember ever loading up anything more than that on a consistent basis. So the past training cycle, the way that my upper body days was set up, I had 2 upper body days. One day, the primary lift was my Larson press, and then the other day, the primary lift was my dips. And you might be wondering, that's not, or might be saying to yourself, that's not a whole lot of like barbell benching, and it's not. I did have some kind of barbell benching on that secondary upper body day with the dips. I had some incline benching on that dip day, but to be honest, I don't really think there's a lot of carryover between, at least direct carryover, between incline bench and competition bench. That might be dependent on your own style of bench pressing. I think a lot of people experience different things in regards to what makes their bench grow. Just because there's a vast array of bench press styles, you got some people that are very narrow grip, more bodybuilding style, and then you have other people that are very technical, you know, that sort of memed on bench, super wide bench, big arch kind of power lifters. Nothing wrong with that. You know, if I could do it, I would. And if you could do it, you fucking would too. So don't act like you're better than everybody else. So with bench, I did not do a lot of specific barbell work. That doesn't mean I think that I don't need more specificity. I think depending on where you are in your training cycle, you can afford to try less or more. Obviously that's relative, or maybe it's not obvious, but it's relative to where you are in the meet prep, and relative to how you're handling things. So for me, I kind of just wanted to take a little bit of a break from the more specific powerlifting work. A little bit more variation was fine with me. The incline benching on that secondary day, while I don't think incline bench inherently has a lot of carryover to my main bench, I do think on a secondary level it does, in the sense that I'm still growing muscle with it. I'm still pushing my triceps really hard, and that's worth something for me, but I just don't see like a very direct carryover. I think the thing that grows my bench though is having more muscle mass, which incline bench can accomplish, and just more competition style bench pressing. Because as I've gotten more, or as I've gotten stronger with my bench press, as I've gotten into powerlifting more, my bench press has become very technical in the sense of how I use my leg drive, how I set up, and how I just bench, period, everything that goes into it. So having more exposure to that is always a good thing. And when I did bench 405 for the very first time, I was running a higher specificity, a higher frequency bench press routine, where I was benching 3 times a week. I did 2 days competition bench and then 1 day reverse grip bench, which I actually really miss. I kind of want to incorporate that sometime soon. But reverse grip bench was great. Saved my shoulders a little bit so I could tolerate more bench press volume while still hammering my triceps and my pecs really hard. But to talk about this training cycle, I thought the secondary day where I did my dips, my incline bench, it was really just a bro day. Like, I would just bro out. Like, I would do dips, I would do some kind of horizontal row. I think it was like a chest supported dumbbell row. I would then do my incline bench, and then I would hit preacher curls, like hammer preacher curls, some triceps, and I called it a day. Simple as that. Now that main bench day, that primary bench day, it kind of mirrored that secondary day a little bit, in that I had my Larson press first, and then I did my Yates rows, which I fucking love. Yates rows are so freaking cool. Like, they're great. Personally, to tailor it more to powerlifting, I actually like doing it with a little bit more momentum and cheat, where I'll start in like an RDL type position, and then as I row the bar up to my belly, I'll kind of allow my hips to extend, my torso to extend, to get the benefits of doing Yates rows, where you are a little bit more upright, and you're not putting as much shear force or load onto your lower back. But to make it a little bit more specific to powerlifting, I like doing it in that sort of like RDL fashion in the start position, and then kind of using like a little bit of cheat in a controlled fashion to then get the bar up. So those are fun, and the bicep pump is nice. My elbow tendons were fine, nothing wrong there if they look dangerous to you. If you're natty, then that's probably not something you need to worry about. Same goes for preacher curls. I was kind of mentioning that earlier. I love preacher curls, man. I'm like fully converted on preacher curls. I think preacher curls are the best curl variation. It's like a bicep curl. I mean, it is a bicep curl, but it's like a bicep curl, but better. The way you can grind through those like really sticky reps because you have the stability, and also being in that lengthened bias position, it just does wonders on your biceps. All right, guys, like you should try it. Give it a shot. Start off a little bit lighter, build up the tendon capacity. You'd be surprised how weak you will feel on preacher curls at first, but the strength will come. The fuck was I talking about? Oh yeah. I was talking about how the primary day kind of mirrored that secondary day. So yeah, Larson press, Yates rows would be next. I would then do seated behind the neck press. And I mostly did those just for quality of life. You know, I'm already doing some heavy barbell benching. I'm already doing some heavier kind of Yates rows. I'm not trying to go crazy on my third sort of pressing variation or accessory. I'm just trying to make sure that my shoulders are healthy and that I can mobilize through that range of motion. That's very important for me. Do not listen to people that demonize behind the neck work. Behind the neck work has literally changed how I've done squats, how I've bench pressed, all of that stuff. I used to have a lot of issues with my shoulders, a lot of issues with my elbows, and improving my shoulder mobility with things like behind the neck pull downs, behind the neck press, has only allowed me to achieve better positions on my squat, on my bench press, so that then my elbows can tolerate squatting and bench pressing more, because my shoulders are able to mobilize more and my elbows not take as much heat. So do your behind the neck work. If you're having a hard time, if your shoulders are feeling messed up and you're feeling, and you know you could work on your mobility in your shoulders and you know that's gonna benefit you, then do it. Just do it. Anyways, yeah, so behind the neck press, and then I'd wrap up with like, more preacher curls with a supinated grip, and then some triceps. Again, pretty basic. And I think I'd do, I forget off the top of my head, but I would do some lateral raises or rear delt flies on either one of those days. I'd kind of let it float around whenever I could do it. And that's just for my own like personal like vanity goals. But yeah, that was pretty much how the upper body days were set up. And I think I was the most surprised that my Larson press improved so much in a short period of time. I think this training cycle was only 3-4 months, 16 weeks total. And I think a lot of it really was just the novelty. I had the novelty of doing Larson press because I hadn't done that in literal years. And then the secondary day, I was just pushing myself pretty freaking hard. And I think whatever stimulus I was getting on that secondary day was just enough to carry me through the remainder of the week, and then go into that primary day feeling not only pretty fresh, but just prepared and like ready to lift. Because that secondary day, that secondary upper body day, felt more like a general upper body strength kind of workout. And I think it was just the right time to do all those things. It was the right time in terms of the stimulus, being new and fresh and all that stuff. All right, last bit, deadlifts. So deadlifts, this part of the video is probably gonna go by the quickest. I mean, we'll see how much I want to talk, because I can certainly talk, but deadlifts actually were probably the simplest out of all the main exercises that I was focusing on during this this off season. And when I say simplest, I mean the training was pretty simple. I would do my ascending sets like I talked about on my primary day, building up to whatever top sets of 6, 5 at whatever rate, whatever weight or RPE that Paris would give me, and that was it. So that was building up to 1 set on that primary day. And then the secondary day is where I would do a lot of straight leg deadlifts, or stiff leg deadlifts, whatever you want to call it. I think that stiff leg deadlifts are one of the best deadlifts that you can do as a secondary stimulus, or as an accessory to your primary deadlift. Whether you're a conventional deadlifter, a sumo deadlifter, what have you, straight leg deadlifts are the purest form of a hinge that you can do, and it's the most specific to strength because you're still starting from the floor, just like you would in your competition lift. That doesn't now that doesn't mean RDLs aren't vaulted or whatever the fuck y'all kids say. That doesn't mean RDLs aren't worth their salt. God, I sound like a boomer. That isn't to say that RDLs aren't worth doing. That isn't to say that other deadlifting variations aren't worth doing. But what I am trying to communicate with y'all is that stiff leg deadlifts are worth learning how to do and worth learning how to do well. Stiff legs have, well, honestly, direct hinge work has transformed my deadlift, and that was the variation of choice for my secondary day deadlift. And I think we got up to about like 525 for like doubles or something. Starting off like pretty light in the beginning, building up to that. And even just doing that, like okay, I just deadlifted 800 pounds. 525 pounds, like just objectively speaking, that's not a lot. Relative to that, it's not a lot. And I'm saying that because you don't really need to go crazy heavy on your stiff legs to get a good stimulus. Now, you still need to try hard and train hard. I would say that exertion is probably the most important thing when it comes to powerlifting training. You need to be really good at knowing, where your limits are and how to push it, when to pull back, stuff like that. Now, those stiff leg deadlifts, earlier on in the training cycle, those sets were probably more so, the volume that I would do probably leaned more on that RPE 6 or 7 side. But as we got, deeper into it, it probably bled into an 8 or 9 range. So I'm not trying to say, I guess I'm trying to say a couple things, which might sound contradicting. On one hand, you don't need to go very heavy on your hinge work. But on the other hand, you do need to push yourself hard. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, don't go so heavy such that you overreach on a secondary day where you did not need to overreach. But on the other hand, still get yourself to try hard and progress your hinge work, whether it be an RDL or stiff leg deadlift, because you will see the benefits of that into your conventional deads or your sumo deadlifts. And the main reason why, like I kind of mentioned earlier, is because it is a pure, at least stiff legs, are a purely hinging type of movement. And if you can get that strong, then you can deadlift anything, because every deadlift is a hinge. I don't care if you're the most leverage max, mobility god, freaking deadlift specialist, slender man out there. Your deadlift is still a hinge. So if you can get really strong at your hinging, then your deadlifts are just gonna skyrocket. And that's literally what happened here. I wasn't expecting my final deadlift day, I was not expecting an 800-pound pull. I walked in thinking, all right, let me just deadlift 770. It's a small 5-pound PR. We weren't really pushing deadlifts too crazy. It's not like I was doing a lot of volume to stimulate my deadlifts. I'm just happy with a small PR because I know I can probably do it. And also because 770 sounds cool. And then I did it, and it moved like RPE 7. And I was like, okay, what the hell? Why? Why did it move so easy? And then, of course, I was like, okay, you know what? I never push my deadlifts that hard in training. Screw it. Let's just load up 8, and then I'm going to text my coach, and I'm going to ask him if I can do this. And if he green lights this, then I'm going to do it. And so I did that. I loaded up 800. I texted Paris. I didn't wait for his text back because I was impatient. I just did it. And I'm glad I did, because I was very surprised by hitting that milestone and just crazy number. I don't think, you know, when I started powerlifting at 17, I would have deadlifted 800 pounds. That's kind of crazy. And it's even crazier to think that I feel like I had a little bit more in the tank, and that wasn't everything. So yeah, that's how training kind of went. Things are going pretty smoothly as far as like my deadlifting is concerned. We're not really changing much up. I'm still doing the ascending sets on that primary day, no back off volume. For my secondary day, instead of stiff leg deadlifts, I'm doing RDLs just because personally I kind of miss RDLs. I want to change it up a little bit. Stiff legs are feeling just a little bit stale. But yeah, I'm doing a meet. I'm doing a bench only meet in December. And I'm kind of just doing that for shits and giggles. I have a client that's competing. He's doing full power. But me, I just kind of want to have fun and not feel the pressure of meet prep so much, because every time I do a meet prep, I feel like I lose 30 IQ. And right now I don't want to feel like I'm losing IQ. But I am looking to do a full power meet relatively soon. So we'll kind of see what kind of happens there. I think it'd be great if I could replicate the numbers that I've recently hit on my deadlift and push my squat a little and see where my bench is at. So I guess I'm kind of using that bench only meet as kind of like a, all right, cool, like how far can we push it? How far can we push bench? And then there is a meet I'm looking at in late January that I'm thinking about, and I think that'd be more than enough time to kind of build my squat and then push it with a quick turnaround, so I don't like zap myself too hard, but you know, still get the benefits of the peak, see where I can nudge my squat. And then yeah, ideally I can, you know, replicate that 800 pound deadlift, or at least get close to it in competition standard. My previous all-time PR on deadlift was 765. That was my best as well in competition. So honestly, anything north of 770, I'd be pretty happy. I think it's a little bit too early to tell where my bench is gonna be at, but squat, the closer I can get to 750, the happier I'm gonna be. Because squat is not my problem lift, but it gives me, I feel or experience the most anxiety when I squat. And I think it's because for me, it's just on me, and it's just like on my body, and something about that just like freaks me the hell out. So I'm actually trying to learn how to be a little bit more calm when I squat, while still kind of like focusing and being aggressive. On deadlifts, I'm actually the most calm. Actually, no, I take that back. Bench, I'm the most calm, and then deadlift, I'm the second most calm. With deadlifting, I have to be calm during my setup so that I can make sure that I'm just doing the right things and not like missing a step. But then as soon as I slack, pull, and wedge, that's where I kind of turn on that aggression. And I think for squat, I'm trying to kind of find that middle ground of like, okay, how do I manage my anxiety with squatting and still perform? Which I think what I have got going on has worked so far. I think that's how I've gotten to be as successful as I have been with my high bar squat. But I know there's a lot more for me to do, a lot more for me to learn, a lot more for me to literally lift. I literally just need to lift more with my squat, and I'll be solid. So thanks for sticking around for this training update, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.